And yes, we've been talking about cocoa and our fortunes as a country. Today we narrow down our conversation on the cocoa industry, and we're going to be engaging the man who is in charge of a major entity. If you notice how I stressed major entity, you would understand, in the cocoa industry value chain. Now this morning we interrogate the issues. What is the state of this entity? How far have they come? What more can we expect from that entity? This morning, we'll bring you the details as we host the managing director of the PBC, that is the Produce Buying Company PLC, Kweku Nkansah. Good morning, sir.
Thank you very much, and good to be here.
It's really good having you. There's been a lot of talk about cocoa in recent times, some positive, quite a bit negative as well. But let's start with the PBC. I didn't know until you came here today that it was now the PBC PLC.
Yeah.
But the Produce Buying Company I see often because of certain dynamics. Tell us about the Produce Buying Company. For some people out there, all they know is cocoa board. What is the PBC? What do you do?
Yes, thank you very much for having me. Can I just first say a couple of greetings to people quickly,
Sure.
and then we'll get into the nitty-gritty of PBC. So first off, it's the birthday of a lady that I really adore, the Honourable Chief of Staff at the Presidency. It's her birthday today. The Honourable Akusia Fremose Opare. It's her birthday. May she live
Happy birthday, ma'am.
1,000 years. She's a pillar in our lives, and in these PBC issues and challenges that I've had, she's been a strong supporter and advisor, and personally, she's a mum as well to us. So we'll say happy birthday to her. Another in Ahafo, Neza Ajiwa, fantastic lady. She's my PA, one of my PAs anyway. And that's her birthday today as well. It's a clash of birthdays, so June the 5th. And then my fondest regards to the flag bearer of the party that I believe in, the NPP. I know 7th December, I'm rooting for him to be elected. And then on the 7th of January, to hold the sword and to be swearing in as the President of the Republic of Ghana. So thank you for that, Benjamin, for allowing me to do all of those, because I have to do those. And then, of course, now delving into the nitty-gritties of PBC. What do we do? PBC buys, we store, we collect, we transport, and we process cocoa. And whereas we also deal in cocoa, coffee, and share. And that is exactly what we do. So we get money from cocoa board, and used to be other sources as well. And then we would go to the farm gates, get a cocoa from the societies, primary evacuation, come into our depots, secondary evacuation, evacuate to Tema Harbour, and then deliver that to cocoa board, to CMC, and then we get paid margins. That's it. That's how we pay our employees. I'm sure we'll get into that as we go further on.
I see.
So that in a nutshell is what we do, yes.
All right. How does that feed into the rest of the system? What the cocoa board, for example, does? How does what you do feed into the rest of the value chain?
So it's the value chain as well as the supply chain. So basically, cocoa board needs the cocoa, obviously, to satisfy the syndicated loan, and of course,
I was just about to get to the
yes, and then of course to also export to satisfy the consumers who want chocolate and other byproducts that comes out of cocoa. So PBC is one of the companies, and used to be the only company that did this until somewhere in the early 2000s when the market was liberalized, and then PBC started buying, other companies started buying as well. So what we do is we're asked by cocoa board to deliver a certain quota. So we agreed a quota with cocoa board. So they would say we want maybe, for the sake of argument, 700 tons. And we'd say, okay, we can do maybe a half of that or a third of that. We'll get the seed fund for that. And then in the past, when things were very good, we were able to get funds from the banks as well. And then we add to that. And then we go and get that, the cocoa from the gates, deliver it to cocoa board. Cocoa board says, thank you very much. They have margins which are set. Currently, I think it's about 9% of the producer price. And then we get our margins, and then happy days. We go away, use some of it for our administrative purposes, use some of it to pay salaries, use some of it to maintain, to keep our heads above the parapet. And that's it, really. So, yeah.
You spoke about margins. How well are you faring in that regard? I know that in monetary terms, and I'll get back to the syndicated loan, but I know you've been bedeviled with your own financial problems. Just last year, we were talking about the company, the PBC, losing some $1.9 billion over a period of about 3 to 4 years. You've had a rough time financially in recent years.
Yes.
How have you been able to stay afloat? And maybe even before that, how did you get there to the point of debt that you've had?
That's a very interesting question, very interesting. If you look at the trends, and all our financial data, at least the majority of it, is online. If you look at the trends, ever since we floated somewhere in 1999, it was December 1999 into January 2000. We haven't had that kind of comfort financially. So we were trading, kind of doing well, but the telltale signs were there.
All the way from 99?
All the way from 99. So the whole idea of floating, so we floated on the Ghana Stock Exchange, yes.
Right.
So the whole idea, of course, normally when someone does an initial public offering, is to raise capital on the stock exchange, to use that to bolster the finances of the company. Now that's the whole idea. That didn't quite go well. So of course,
when you say it didn't quite go well, what do you mean? Is it that people were not willing, investors were not willing to put their money where your mouth, PBC's mouth was?
Yes, in a nutshell, yes, that's what it was. Probably, I don't know if the marketing didn't go well, or I'm not sure exactly what
How
the
long ago are
underlying
we talking
factors.
about?
We're talking about almost 24 years ago.
Okay,
So
this
is
2000.
This is 14th January, I think. We ended the IPO, the initial public offering.
Right.
Then, of course, as a result of that, Finance and SNIT picked up the rest of the shares that were issued, and that's how they became shareholders, the largest shareholders of the company. There were others as well who came in, like African Tiger and other institutions and persons who also invested. I don't know what the motivation was. I won't say the motivation, but I don't know what happened, why the take-up was kind of abysmal. But then, of course, that's what happened. And that was way before I came to sit in the saddle. So,
are you saying since that time there has not been any further attempt at,
there have been
floating
attempts.
shares, getting on the stock exchange,
there have been attempts at,
and making the most of investment into the produce buying company PLC?
There have been attempts at rights issue and also private placements. I don't think they've actually gone and actually done it. So every time they've attempted it, I think there have been conversations in the background. Even as fairly recently as December 22nd, we made an attempt to do so.
I was going to ask, you keep saying they. How about you while you...
Well, because I came in May the 1st last year.
Right.
So that's when I became the managing director. I was sworn into the board on the April 19th, and then May the 1st, I became DMD. So I inherited all these challenges, and which I'm a firm believer, I have faith that we'll get out of.
How much of this mess, and you can describe it in whichever terms you will, but how much of this mess have you, since your term? So you've been there for about a year now.
Yes.
Have you been able to extricate the PBC PLC from up to this point in time?
So when I came in, there's a board led by someone who's done something similar, Yawaji Mandria. The days of Goyle in 1999-2000, when Goyle was failing, he's the guy who helped to turn this around. So he has the pedigree to do this, and he leads a board which they've outlined a number of steps that the company must go through to get out of this quagmire that it finds itself in. So when I came in, one of the first things was to look at the blueprint that the board had agreed, and to also add my views to it. I've added my views to it. It is something that we're looking to implement. Of course, funding continues to be a challenge, and that is something that we're looking at. So we haven't quite gotten out of it yet, but the building blocks are there. that if we receive funding, from whichever source it is, we should be able to look at those building blocks and then start to get out of this these challenges that we find ourselves.
So you inherited that 1.9 billion Ghana cedi, loss, I want to believe. Since that time, if I asked you of the financial position of the PBC PLC, currently, as of today, what would you say?
So I'm not sure if it's 1.9 billion cedi loss. I'm not sure where you're getting that from.
I mean, from last year, 2023.
But
if you recall, series that we had at the time, PBC Troubles,
oh yes, that was before my time. Yes, but
and that's why I'm saying you inherited.
Yes, I don't think it was. I don't think it's 1.9. But let me check, because particularly, I don't think it's 1.9 billion. I have a bit of a reservation there.
Which is why I'm asking you now, probing.
Yes,
what is the financial status? How viable
of
is the PBC PLC currently? I mean, looking at, obviously, you would look at your assets and liabilities, your revenue and your debt.
Yes. So we do have the challenges. We do have the debts. Yes, we are.
I still wanted the figures. I was still cutting incisively into the figures. I want to know. Ghanaians want to know.
You want to know. We still have the debts. We still have we still have the challenges. The figures are not as scary as we think it is. So, for instance, I've seen somewhere where it says PBC owes $300 million US dollars.
Is that true or not?
That is false.
It is false. You don't owe any entity $300 million.
We do have debts, but it's not $300 million.
So how much is it?
It's not even $60 million. And that's not to demean the fact that there are debts which are kind of colossal.
Let's stay there for a moment. So, you say it's not even $60 million. Yes. So how much is it?
So circa, it was around 55 the last time we checked.
Circa $55 million.
$55 million, which is about, so we're looking at about 600 million Ghana cedis. Yeah, some of it owed to the banks, the rest of it owed to Cocoa Board, some of it some statutory payments like GRA, union dues, welfare, and the rest. We put all of that together, and it puts us around 651 million Ghana cedis. It's not even a billion.
Which entities do you owe the most, or which one do you owe the most to?
I'd say presently, possibly Cocoa Board.
You owe Cocoa Board the most?
Cocoa Board, yes. Because there were some financial transactions that were done somewhere in 2018, 2019. Some bonds that were issued, and then Cocoa Board had to pick up the tab. Some seed fund that wasn't paid off correctly, so that's also in there. So the tune is around 290 something million Ghana cedis to Cocoa Board.
Okay.
And then the rest.
But in total, that is the $55 million you're speaking of?
So it's 651 million Ghana cedis. It's easier that way.
Right.
So since whoever was alleging, I know whoever it was, I don't want to mention names, and they know themselves, and it was in the Herald, so I kind of probably give some clues. Whoever was alleging
that... give some clues, what do you mean?
$300 million. I can try and find a paper and then send it to you, and then you'd know who made... This is a former first gentleman of the land, so saying that we owe $300 million, and that's very untrue.
And you say that's unfounded?
Very, very untrue.
So if your books were audited today, everything done professionally by a top 4 auditing firm, they would come to the same conclusion?
They should come to the same conclusion.
They should.
Because we are listed. We have auditors who audit us. Our accounts are on the Ghana Stock Exchange. Right. So there's no way we could, misinform the public, because it's public. Right. Hence the PLC. So
let's just do this quick math though. You say $55 million. Yeah. If I multiply 55 by, and trust me, out there, yes, the central bank will usually come out with, we all know that is not the figure that you would probably get out there. And I know, I keep tabs on this. Even if I'm multiplying by 15, I'm not even going to 16, right? 55 million by 15 gives you 825 million Ghana cedis, not 651 million. Are you using current rates? Are you repaying these in dollars? Are you speaking of dollar terms or CD terms? Because if you're doing the math for 55 million by 15, you're getting 825 million.
So I mentioned that the last time we did this, and the last time we did this, the dollar was hovering around 10 and 11.
Okay, so a more current figure A more current figure, you admit,
So which is
825 million.
So that's why I keep insisting on the cedi value. Our receivables, our payables, and everything is in cedi. I'm only making this point because the claim was made that we owe this money in dollars. And I'm only making this point that it is untrue. If we did a conversion based on the dollar value at the time, this was it. But it's 651. There's some interest in there. So at the time we did it, it was 651. It jumps up and down a little bit, but it wouldn't go beyond 660.
But I'm saying that the current value, dollar value, if you convert to cedis, if you were paying off that debt.
My brother, stay away from
No, let's do this. If you were paying off that debt today,
yes,
in dollar terms, you'd be paying $825 million.
We won't be paying it in
Ghana cedis.
We won't be paying it in dollars.
You'll be paying
it in Ghana cedis.
Yes, but that's the point I'm making. You'll still be paying $825 million.
It depends on how you want to look at it, but we don't take dollar. Ours is cedis. Our receivables.
So you're saying that you've given me a dollar equivalent at the time, but you're saying that it will not reflect when you're making payment?
It will not reflect when we're making payments, because when we're making payments, all our payments are made in cedis. Everything is made in cedis.
I see. Okay. Let's also look at the market share of the PBC PLC. I mean, the last time we checked, and this is last year when we aired our hotline documentary, PBC Troubles, you were looking at something around 30% of the market. Let me just 30.88% in 2016, and it had dwindled to 8% in 2021. A decline in your market share. That is steep. That is a difference of about what? 22, almost 22%. What is your market share currently?
So the market share currently, we're not buying. So we haven't bought for a bit.
For how long?
So for over a year now.
So you don't even have a market share?
So we probably don't have a market share. We probably don't.
So we've moved from, let's say, 30%, 30.88 in 2016 to 8% in 2021 and zero in 2024.
Yes, regrettably. And I say that regrettably and with a heavy heart. But then I also need to act quickly that we're looking to, change this very, very quickly. And by the end of this month, we would have changed it and we will be on an upward trajectory. The other thing is when I start.
So you're looking forward to change that.
Yes.
What is changing that is going to
allow
you to? Are you saying you're going to start buying?
Yes, we're going to start buying. We're going to start
from this month.
Yes, from the end of this month. From the end of this month, the conversations are ongoing. When I started the conversation, I also added that the telltale signs were there from 2000, and that is because we've never had working capital. Never had working capital. Working capital is something that you need, absolutely need, when you're doing this business. So we don't have working capital. All we've done is gone to the banks, borrowed, finance costs hitting us so hard, and then also getting seed fund, which is inadequate, and also not timely. So these are the two challenges, the two key challenges that we've had that bedevils our industry. And by extension, strongly, that's been challenging PBC. So those are the conversations that we're having at the moment, the Cocoa Board and the rest, and we're going to soon start buying. So PBC is back. PBC is back.
Wait till you start buying before you say you are back.
It is. I have faith. Have you seen God before? You've not seen him before. You do pray. I'm sure you go to church. You pray.
Actually, I have.
Yeah, you've seen God before.
Yeah.
That's refreshing.
I'm seeing God now. God is in each one of us. So every one of us. So when I see you, I see God in you.
And so it's faith, right? It's faith. So you're going to bed the night before. You have that faith that you're going to wake up the next day. That is faith.
Let me ask though, based on what are you, I mean, there's the saying that if, and I'm being sensitive to those challenged with sight, but they say if a blind man says he will stone you, he has his foot likely on something.
Definitely.
Where are you building your financial muscle? What are you standing on that makes you feel you can start buying? You've not bought for about a year, and all of a sudden you're about to start. Where are you getting your money from?
So of course, with that steep drop down to somewhere maybe 0 or maybe 1% or maybe 2 or something. But don't forget, there's an industry, there's a regulator that looks after this whole industry. And that helps us, gives us that helping hand. Doesn't want to see PBC fail. Of course, when you did your PBC troubles last year. You were speaking to Fifi Boafo and the rest of them, and they said PBC is not going to fail. They won't allow it to fail. And indeed, they're not allowing it to fail.
But you've come
We're
close.
Having those conversations.
You've come close to failing.
You do have those.
When you move from 33.8% of the market share to 0 or practically 0, that is near failure, if not failure.
You do have something called near-death experience, but you don't die. You see,
I like that illusion.
You have the near-death experience, but you don't die. So we've had something close. The challenges, yes, but it's like a curve. I've done economics before, where the curve dips, goes all the way to the bottom, and then starts to climb again, and it is climbing. And
I see.
I'm very confident that by the end of this month, up into July, we should see a PBC in the good books. And I see the media trying to, sometimes you don't help us. What you do is you keep kicking us while we're down. But it would be nice this time.
Oh, you think we kick you while you're down?
Yeah, give us good press.
But that's why we've invited you, because you see, yes, they say even bad news is still, positive news. It gets attention to you. But sometimes when the media, and that is what I feel sometimes different entities misunderstand. When we place the microscope on you, it's not necessarily to push you down. It is probably to make you realize, hey, things are not going well. We don't want you to fail. So do something and get up. And oftentimes you would notice from our hotline documentaries and the rest that after we've done that, things change. That is our role.
Positive critique. Positive
critique.
Positive critique. But 9 times out of 10, you see some of it turns out to be, this cocoa industry is not doing well. Why are we doing this? Why do we need PBC in the first place? That kind of negative publicity. But it's all good. It's all good. It's all
anyway,
good. Helps us to sit down.
Let me just, I'll not read the full thing from Abdulaziz. Part of it is a bit
it's fine. It's
acerbic. But he says, you will start buying next month when the main buying season is over. How do you respond to that?
So there are 2 seasons in the cocoa industry.
Well, he said main buying season.
So the main season, and then you have the light crop season. Light crop season is about to start. The main crop is just ending. It ends, today's Wednesday, and it ends tomorrow. So that ends tomorrow. There's some mop-ups being done. Somewhere on the 20th or 27th, the light crop season will start, will go on for a couple of months. And it's light. So that's where PBC then joins the tracks and starts to walk and starts jogging a bit, so that by the time we get to the main season, we're running. We've hit the tracks running, and everyone's seeing that PBC is part of the game, and we're part of the race, So if my brother Abdulaziz said, I'm assuring him that we will be buying in the light crop, gearing ourselves up slowly, and then by the main crop, we'll be running and racing.
Let's talk money matters. Let's stay on money. I want to get into another angle, but so you say you're getting money from CocoaBoard.
We'll get some money from CocoaBoard.
How much?
We'll get some. We don't know yet. But we're having those discussions, yes.
You don't know how much you're getting from CocoaBoard, but you're sure you can buy cocoa.
We will buy cocoa.
You will buy
definitely.
cocoa.
In fact,
the syndicated loan has not been. We're looking forward to another one that has not been completed. So how exactly? And you already owe CocoaBoard, right?
That's yes. So that's for CocoaBoard to decide. I don't speak for CocoaBoard per se. I speak for PBC PLC, as you can imagine. Like you also said, and let me also stand on the same protocols and apologize and say I mean no offense when I say if a blind person says they're going to stone you, they have their foot already on the stone. If CocoaBoard says they're going to give you money, they know where that money is coming from. So for us, all we're saying is we need money to go into the market. CocoaBoard is really geared up based on the promises they made to you, PBC troubles, and based on the consistent promises they've been making. I think recently they also made the same promise that they won't allow PBC to fail. Okay. Fairly recently. I read, I think sometime last month or so. So we are really well assured that that will come.
So you have some sort of gentleman's agreement.
We have something
with CocoaBoard.
But not just that alone. There are other people who are interested in the cocoa industry. By extension, very interested in PBC. So once we show the faith and the commitment that, and as I said, by the board chairman with his plan and everything, we have a minister, we have 2 ministers supporting us. The Honourable Minister of Food and Agric, we have the Honourable Brian Champon, we have the Honourable Minister for Finance, Honourable Amin Mohammed Anta. And then, of course, we have SIGA, support. In fact, 3 ministers. The Minister for Public Enterprises Services, Honorable Joseph Kujo, and then the State Interest and Governance Authority led by the Honorable John Buedu. So we have all these, and then, of course, the government and the tutelage of the President, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, Chief of Staff and the rest, and the flag bearer. Everyone supports the PBC, that the PBC must rise up again. So we have enormous support. And we have external investors who are looking at us greatly and want to do something great with PBC.
Quick question. So the losses you've incurred over time, what accounted for them?
So some of it, like I said, largely the absence of working capital has made it challenging for us to obviously trade properly. So what then happens is you go to the banks, you go and borrow. When you borrow, you're borrowing at about 25%, 26% and upwards. If you look at our financial statements, consistently, it is saying in the financial costs is what's killing us. And if we had our working capital, of course, it would be 0%. But if you went to the banks, then the interest rate is quite high. Cocoa Board gives us generous rates, very generous rates. I think the last time I saw something in there which was like 16%, which comes nowhere near any interest rate that we've seen or anticipated in recent times. So those are the challenges we've had. Of course, there have been some some slight mismanagements and the rest, and things that have gone awry. For instance, overstating our position and then, punching above our weight by going to build 2 edifices, one of which is not doing anything for us at the moment, which is sad, but we're looking to jumpstart it.
Which one specifically are you speaking?
We're talking about the PBC share, Bupe, and as I'm on this show as well, I'm also appealing to investors to look at it and say, I want people to be interested, to come and let's sit down and have a conversation about PBC Bupe. It's a shea butter factory. Shea butter is the fad, or the fashion at the moment. It's healthy and it has a lot of health properties. And it would be a good idea to have some investors, invest into it so we can have an uplift. So that, unfortunately, is something that's dragging us down. Golden Bean is doing quite well. Sometimes we go to them, we get some money out of them to be able to do things on the cocoa side of things. So some of it, some mismanagement, but a lot of it has been the absence of working capital, and then, of course, the finance costs. And then the weather as well. The weather has caused challenges for us. So producer prices go up sometimes. The weather, the El Nino and the rest of it,
But the weather is it's kind of like a force majeure situation. You can't control the weather, but that is why you also put in place mechanisms. Look at our cocoa stream. Maybe some of this may evolve into Cocoa Board, but we're still using cutlass, breaker pot, and all of that. When others are using machines and they can do maybe 100 times what you would do within a shorter space of time.
In that regard,
I don't know, but when it comes to weather, have we done even enough in terms of fertilizers, in terms of some of the things? Galamsey is another, it's a hydra-headed problem. We'll not get there. But let's come back to some of the questions being posed here, which feed into what I was going to ask. I was already going to ask, has the PBC PLC been mismanaged? But you've already answered that question.
Yes. So they have
partly
challenges
owing to what?
There have been some challenges.
Costs and the ability
so we've overestimated things. So we built Golden Bean, and then we built a PBC share. Started with, I think the estimation was about 10 million Ghana cedis. It ended up being about 33 or 42 million Ghana cedis, sorry. So there was that. There's also the same thing with PBC share. But of course, when you build these things, you expect some return from it, because eventually that money that you're taking...
Of course, you expect ROIs, returns on investment. So now you've built something, you've expended a lot more money than you forecast, and now you can't even use the thing to generate revenue. That is clearly problematic.
That is challenging. That's very challenging. And this is the reason why
whom specifically... Under which regime and whom specifically? Mention names.
I'm not here for witch hunting.
No, it's not about a witch hunt. I am asking you.
I understand.
Under who superintended,
I understand where you're coming from. So I think that the decision was made somewhere around 2011, all the way down. I think by 2014 it had been built.
Right.
2014, 2015. The rationale behind it was good. I mean, I wouldn't fault it at all. Of course, force majeure was going to force us, because if you're in the cocoa industry alone, and for those who have been accusing us of saying cocoa is your main business, what business do you have in real estate, and also what business do you have in share and the rest? I think diversifying is a good idea, except it has to be done well. And then, as you said, return on investment, and it needs to yield the value for which we invested into these. And it didn't. So overestimation, one. Number two, I mean, there were issues with the factory itself, with the tooling of the machines. And then when it was retooled, then there was the product itself, then there's some mismanagement up there as well. The product itself, which was left to rot in certain cases, had to get rid of the whole thing. That was written down. And so that became a loss to us. But the whole thing is this. We are looking at it. We haven't just left it and parked it to one side. While we're looking at the cocoa side of things, we're also looking at the share side of things and saying we're going to jumpstart both of them.
Okay.
Yes,
right.
one thing at a time.
Let me just find out, though. Yeah. The Golden Bean Hotel.
Yes.
Are you getting anything at all from it?
Yes,
or
we are.
You're getting something?
I made that comment about two minutes ago.
How much are you earning?
Oh, so we're doing pretty well. We're doing pretty well in terms of figures. I don't.
So it wasn't such a bad investment.
It wasn't a bad investment at all.
How much are you making?
In fact, fairly recently, we had to go and borrow about 5 million Ghana cedis from them. Some of it to pay wages.
From Golden Bean Hotel?
Yes, from Golden Bean, yes. Some of it to look at some of the restructuring plans that we're doing. In fact, we still have some of it to do, because some people want to voluntarily exit. They're saying, we want to go. There are challenges. When these challenges hit, some people can stay, some make the decision to leave. Nothing, we don't fault them. They want to move on, And Golden Bean has been the mainstay. These are the people that have been.
So basically, Golden Bean is your goose laying the golden egg right now.
It's the jewel in the crown right now. The jewel in the crown. Cocoa will soon come along. And just as we've done with Golden Bean, cocoa coming along.
So it wasn't such a bad investment after all, was it?
I've just said it. It wasn't a bad investment at all. You should have been in Kumasi during the Adair when His Majesty, Otumfuo Osei-Tutu II, had his Adair Kese, and the hotels were filled to the brim. And you look at the ratings of Golden Bean. People go to Lancaster, Sunset, and the rest of the hotels. They love Golden Bean. I was there. I pretended as if I don't know anything about it. I don't have anything to do with Golden Bean. People were telling me, I love Golden Bean. Location-wise, I love the fact that it's got all the ambience and everything around it. So Golden Bean is doing very well. Cocoa will do well. Share, by God's grace, will also do very well.
And share is another industry. Today, I don't want us to go too deep into that. Yeah. I have friends in the share industry. I know people in Kokoshi, the coffee, cocoa association, share association.
We have a board member.
So it's an area we could do much better in. But that's a conversation for another day.
Yes.
Let's talk about this, though. It appears you have got this ignominious title of being known for not paying workers. I'm looking at a 2022 circular. It says, all staff salary. We wish to inform all members of staff that the payment of salaries for the month of August 2022 will delay due to the current financial challenge faced by the company. It goes on and on. This was before your time, I understand. But even up to now, some comments that are coming through via the live stream. Ketre Kobana Ebo says, our Provident Fund has been deducted. Ask him where that money is. It's been 8 years and that money has not been paid to us. He also says, we have already been out of business for a whole season. Ask him how sure he is that the PBC will operate in the light crop season where the cocoa purchases are not like the main season. Then, Nana Kwame Yeboah says, good morning. Please ask him whether he's aware that the PBC is still owing some purchasing clerks. Are they going to pay them before they start operating in the light crop season, the purchasing clerks? Are you going to pay them before you start in the light crop season? Then, I just want to put them together, lump them together. Blaze Marfo says, workers have not been paid for almost 10 months. The PBC owes CMCs, their commission, our vehicles are being auctioned, we owe workers, the Provident Fund, etc. What is happening? Let me hold on there before I get to the next one from K-Tree.
Yes.
Reactions.
So let me say this. Yes, I expect the worst of criticisms and critiques and the rest. And I made this claim that the telltale signs were there. It was only a matter of when and not if. So as to the challenges we find ourselves in. Provident Fund. When we take deductions, we put the deductions into the Provident Fund.
Right.
When we make salary payments, we do some deductions into Provident Fund. We haven't been able to make some payments that were before my time, for whatever reason that is, but we're looking to rectify it. These are challenges that I'm looking at. It's one of the things on my table as I speak right now. So PF, Provident Fund, I apologize to my workers, but we are working very hard to rectify all of these. Now, on salaries, and for 10 months, let me explain how salaries work. We sell cocoa, and then when we sell, we get our margins. When we get our margins, we pay our staff. So for the last year, we haven't worked. So you can see that we haven't worked for a year, but we haven't paid salaries for 10 months.
You speak as though that were some sort of accolade.
No, it's not.
An entity like yours elsewhere would have mechanisms in place so that even if you're not doing your mainstay, you may have, you have Golden Bean, for example.
So the working capital is one of them, and we've had to go and borrow from Golden Bean. So I'm just coming to the point that we haven't worked for a year, but we've been able to pay some salaries, and it's building up into 10 months. Cocoa Board has been helping. Emmanuel Ray Ankra, the DCE in charge of finance and administration, has been helping immensely, greatly. The tide has been challenging when he does that sometimes. But eventually we're getting to some consensus where PBC must be helped where we are. The salaries we haven't paid, I apologize once more, but we are looking to rectify that as I speak.
Mr. Nkansah, is an apology enough? I am not there. I have been...
It isn't enough, Ben.
Hold for me. Let me situate it.
Yeah.
You've not paid people for 10 months.
Yes, agreed.
Unfortunately.
Regrettably.
The economy is where it is. Inflation is above 25%.
That's right. Yes.
The exchange rate is staggering.
Yes.
You have fuel prices have gone up, both petrol and diesel.
Yes.
The cost of living and all of that. 10 months. Can you imagine? This is crazy. People have to pay school fees. They have to keep body and soul together.
I make no excuses for this, but the challenges are the same across the world. The same across the... Of course, we're sitting in Ghana right now, but the challenges are even worse in places.
Like
I'm saying...
Like where?
I've come from the United Kingdom. I can tell you, bang on.
The United Kingdom is worse than Ghana.
Yes, people have lost jobs. The hospitality industry had almost collapsed. In
Ghana, about 1 million people have been pushed into poverty. Are you aware of that?
I'm aware of the challenges.
That has not happened in the UK.
No, I'm aware. No,
I'm not saying there are no job losses.
Challenges.
That has not happened in the UK.
There are challenges.
They have social systems in place.
Yes,
they have the National Health Insurance Scheme that would cover most people when it comes to health. Sometimes I get a bit when we try to make these comparatives. It simply isn't the same.
During COVID times, we fed people. We gave free electricity, we gave free water. It never happened.
Do you seriously want us to go back there?
I don't want us to go there. I don't want us to go there. But I'm explaining, we are a developing economy. Theirs is developed. If they're able to develop social safety nets, that's where we are going. And that's our trajectory. What I'm saying is, it is challenging, it is difficult. But the genesis of it, the challenges that we have are because we haven't been able to trade. And we're looking desperately to trade. We've explained to the powers that be, everyone understands where we are. And thus, the promise that at the end of this month, we should start to see an injection of capital into the company, and we should start to trade. And by that, we're also seeking assistance from the government to help us to pay some of the salaries. So when we jumpstart this and we start trading, we can then pay off the salaries. I think there was a fourth question. The auction, the auctioning off of properties. And I think there's a wrong impression out there that seems to think that we're selling off our prized property. And obviously, if that were the case, then it would also seem to suggest that the company is almost near total collapse, which is why we need to sell to pay certain things that we need to pay. That's not the case. We are selling of things that are no longer of use, things that are, the wear and tear has gone over. I understand that every 5 years we're supposed to change some of our trucks and some of our vehicles. We don't. We leave it for about 10, 12, 15 years. And now it's gone through the mill. It's almost done. It's done. It won't be roadworthy anymore for the business that we do. For some, for short journeys, it will be, which is why we auction it, so that we can have some of that necessary funds for some of the things that we need.
Okay, so just because you referenced the UK, you do know that, I mean, if you look at May, which was the highest, in fact, the consumer price inflation, if you look at the trajectory, it was 4.4% in April, the lowest since January 2022, okay? It was down from 4.7% in March 2024, and from a recent high of 6.5% in May 2023. Look at their trajectory, how they've controlled it. The exchequer, look at how they've dealt with it, from 6.5% to 4.4%. We have hit 54% at a point, and now we are hovering around 25%. But let me just get into a substantive point, and the differences are stark in the economy, so ours bites even harder.
We have had challenges even more serious than what we have right now.
Like when?
We lived in the days of the PNDC. We lived in the days, I don't know if you remember this, but I'm old enough to remember. Maybe I look young, but
I lived during the era of the PNDC. Yes. And I'm not saying it was rosy, but I cannot recall. Definitely not in this Fourth Republican experience. I cannot recall a point in time when not just the inflation, but the state of the economy has been this grasping,
I'm just saying that biting. Infection. So let me take us back, because I don't want us to veer off the cocoa and all these kind of things. But I want to take us back to a disease that happened 100 years ago, and it happened again 100 years. I've not lived for 100 years, of course. Read it in the history books. I was there.
Almost every century
I was there when this cataclysmic, kind of thing was coming, and people were saying people are dying, and it was coming. And I thought, is this the end of the world? Well, what is this? What's happening? I had never seen anything.
Mr. Nkansah, the same COVID-19 that you are about to blame, right? The same COVID-19 that you're about to blame gave us 21+ billion Ghana cedis. Are you aware of that?
It did.
And honestly, we've not even been able to account for how we spent that money. No,
that's untrue.
On many fronts.
That's untrue.
On many fronts.
No, that's untrue. That's untrue.
We are still collecting a COVID-19 levy.
Untrue.
Till today, we are the only country that instituted that. You were talking about free water, free electricity, free food. I didn't get any free food, but obviously I wasn't in the bracket that would expect free food.
Exactly.
The people supposedly. Did you see the food that was given out? I saw the food that was given out. We claimed that we gave out water and all of that. Who benefited? Today, electricity, for example. Look at the tariffs. People have paid way over. You've gone ahead with the COVID-19 levy. People have paid through the nose for what supposedly was gratis.
We were looking at safety nets. We were looking at safety nets at the time. If we hadn't have done it, people would have lost their lives.
Let's not veer into that.
Benjamin,
let's come back to
if we hadn't have
the
done
PBC PLC.
People would have lost their lives.
That's a discussion for another.
That was an intervention that was really necessary and needed.
Right.
And we need to situate it in the context. You see, when sometimes we bandy these figures and we say all these things and we just leave it as it is. Inflation, as you mentioned, in the United Kingdom, going to 4% and the rest. I have never seen that in recent times. Okay, so all I was saying was there's an infection that is global, and it's not necessarily a Ghanaian thing, And I'm not saying that people aren't going through hardships. I see the hardships on a daily basis. Every week, I'm in a village. Almost every week, I'm in a village. I see the hardships firsthand. I see the things that are going on.
I get your point.
I'm not saying it should happen. I'm saying that it is there. We're doing our best to get out of it, and we will get out of it.
All right. Let me just ask you, though, two quick questions. As someone is referring to me as Evans, I know some people mistake me, both the voice and the face. I am not. My name is Benjamin. But just a quick one, some comments, and then I'll come to you on something crucial. This one says that last season, districts were taking care of company cars, expenses that were supposed to be paid by management. Is he aware of them. But it's specifically when it comes to the vehicles, which kinds of vehicles were they? Do you know?
Vehicles in terms
the auctioned.
Oh, the auction vehicles were a whole lot. There were BMCs, Fusos. These are very old vehicles. The region will know. There's a long list. It wasn't just vehicles as well. It was also trailers, some tractors. There were some buses in there.
How many?
There was a long list. I don't have the list offhand.
You don't know how many of these were auctioned.
But I have a list, but I don't have it offhand. Not in my head, no. But there was a whole long list of very old stuff. We auctioned some last year. We weren't able to auction all of them, and we auctioned the rest of them this year. And these are very, very old stuff. There are some that we should have auctioned.
How old?
Over 10 years. Over 15 years, yes. There are some.
Were they still serviceable, usable?
So you look at the cost of servicing them vis-a-vis using them and getting the return. And when we looked at that, there wasn't going to be any, because you also have to look at the parts you buy, the brakes.
I get that point.
The lubricants and the rest. So we looked at it vis-a-vis the money we were going to spend, and it wasn't worth it. There were 2 buses that were in there that shouldn't have been in there.
How did they end up in there?
And we took them out.
So how did they end up in there?
It was the process of valuation and auctioning. STC does the valuation. They do the they look at it, they inspect it, and then they will say, yes, the list that you've got and you've given us is the list that yes, we should be going by that. I think unfortunately it was in there. We found it on time and we said, no, take these out, and they were taken out. So they've been taken out. The rest of the stuff were very old stuff that we should get rid of. And the other thing as well is this: if we leave them lying about, people go and steal them. People steal them. Because we have
so that is mismanagement there, because you have the bid. You must have systems in place so that people can't do that. I mean, it all feeds into the mismanagement. But let me ask you this:
yes,
how much did we get from these auctions, and did we go through what processes did we go through in auctioning them? Because in this country, it is clear. Usually, you would find out that when auctions are conducted, some people affiliated to a certain party or a certain group are going to be able to buy something that is maybe worth 500,000 cedis for 10,000 or 20,000 cedis. What processes did you go to? How much did these auctions accrue to the people?
So how much did the auctions accrue? We'll put that into the financial statement when we finally finish everything, because it's not done yet. There's the odd 1 or 2 vehicles and odd 1 or 2 things that we need to add to it. So when it's done, we would add that to the financial statement, and that will be publicly available. The other thing is the process that we went through. We identify things that are over a certain age. We list them from the various regions and districts. That comes into the HQ, the headquarters. The H&T manager will have a look at that list, speaking to the traffic manager, and then that will then eventually end up with the deputy managing director in charge of operations. That list will come to me. We'll go through that list. We'll certify it, make sure that everything that's on there, yes, is over that certain age. And then we go to the board.
Right.
And seek approval from the board.
Right. Because
don't forget, we're a shareholder. We've also got a board. So the board will then look at it and say, okay, fine. They'll go through the same questions, asking the relevant questions. How old are these? If we fix them, how much will it cost us, vis-a-vis keeping them, and the rest. We'll answer all those questions. And then we pass the list to the STC. The STC are the company that comes in and looks at it and says, because like you alluded to, some people can collude and say there's something wrong with this.
So STC does the valuation?
So the STC does the valuation, it does the inspection as well. It comes back with the values, we look at the values, and then we begin the process of
STC itself has its own devils, but we'll not go there. You are not with the STC.
I'm not here for STC.
Yeah, definitely not. That's what I'm saying. I'm just saying in passing that they have their own demons to deal with.
They might do.
So do you have an estimate of how much you're hoping to accrue from these sales? Do you know?
Not yet.
All right. Let me ask you quickly though. Within this period that you've been in office, have you purchased any new vehicles?
No.
Or any new?
Nothing. Can't purchase anything. You haven't got the money to do it. We're barely surviving. So any money we get in, all we're doing is making sure that the lights stay on, the water is flowing, and then, of course, we make sure that we're also able to keep our auditors going around and checking the things that we have, because we have depots. Those things need to stay in the depots. Every now and then we get breaches of the depots, like people who work for us, stealing things from it and the rest, and that happens. But we need that same money to do all these things. And then, of course, we pay off our statutory bills, which are GRA chasing us and the rest. In fact, yesterday they were there. They came in there to say, hey, guys, you owe us money. You need to pay this money now, or, we're locking out the place. So
how about electricity and water?
All of that.
Are you up to date in your payments?
We have electricity. No, we have.
You have some debt?
No, we do. We do have debt.
You have some debt?
Yes.
ECG, GWCO.
And they turn it off. And so some of this money, sometimes we use it to pay. Sometimes I'll put in a call to ECG boss and say, hey guys, please do us a favor. And they say, okay, bring some of it. We'll try and see if we can help you out. And then they will switch it on for us while we scramble to find that money from all sorts of corners to try and do this. This auction is coming timely. We might get something from it to be able to, plug all these little gaps.
Let me quickly ask you, so staff have not been paid for 10 months?
Yes.
How about top management? Have you been getting a salary?
Nothing. We're all staff. So the staff.
I mean,
I've not been paid.
There's staff and there's staff.
No.
So let me ask you,
I've not been paid.
Managing director,
yes.
board members,
yes.
Your deputies and all of that, those in the top echelons.
Yeah.
You've also not been paid for 10 months. Is that what you're telling me?
No one's been paid. No one's been paid. We're all sitting there. We're looking at trying to fix the challenges that we have, and those challenges are they're very difficult. They're dire. So no one's been paid. There's nothing so damning as this. But I can only apologize to the people and ask them to exercise patience. Ask them to exercise patience. We're almost at the end of the tunnel. We're coming out. I mean, yesterday I had a demand from the union saying, we need our money by so and so date, or else this. And even the union, the National Union, is also helping us. The General Secretary, Morgan Ayawini, is helping us, is helping his people. He's trying to hold the people at bay and saying to them, do not protest, do not do this. We see the challenges, and we're talking to government about this. So everyone is in there trying to help.
Okay, all right.
And that's where we are.
So my final bit to you, and after this we wrap, we're done. You're happy that it's ending?
No, you've given me audience, so I'm grateful for that.
Okay, so the final bit though, on a more serious note, our cocoa production has dwindled massively. If you look at the share of the Ivorians in the market, over 40%, around 43%, and we are around 13% now. There are projections from research institutions that we could hit about 10% by 2025. Do you think the cocoa sector is in such a decline that if we are not careful, we could lose our spot as number 2? Because the gap between Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire has widened beyond anything we've seen in a while. Final comments and then...
Cote d'Ivoire has had its issues as well. Cote d'Ivoire has had its issues of decline.
Obviously, they are faring better than we are.
Well, they've dwindled. We've also dwindled. We are looking to... We have our issues which are probably very local to us. One, force majeure, so the things that we cannot control. Two, we have the galamseyers who are, doing their thing and we saw the demonstrations at Lembele, I think 2 days ago or so. I don't speak for Cocoa Board, but I know Cocoa Board is seriously looking at this data and looking to fix anything that seems to force us into a decline. I don't think we will lose our number 2 spot. I know other countries are doing something to try and, upstage us. And they've been doing this for the last whatever. But
so you think it's not a threat?
We will continue our number 2 spot. PBC is back in the game. We're going to be, helping to buy the cocoa, moving it from the farms to the ports and abroad, and also be the light crop is more or less for the grinders, the local grinders who do the chocolate for us in this country. So we'll also be boosting the industries in this country. So we won't.
All right.
It'll be fantastic.
Mr. Nkansah, thank you so much for having breakfast with us.
Thank you very much.
Morning.
Thank you.
Hope I didn't grill you too.
No, it was good.
I didn't give you tilapia this morning.
It was good.
It wasn't tilapia.
It was good. It was good. It was good to do this. And thank you to your listeners, Augustine Blay and Dr. Blay and the rest of them, also watching us. I'm very grateful for having me.
Which Augustine Blay are you referring to? The one at the Vice President's office?
That's right, yes.
I see. Okay.
Yes,
all right.
yes.
Well, this has been our conversation with the Managing Director of the Produce Buying Company PLC, Kweku Nkansah. Hopefully you've got some answers to some of the questions that were on your mind. But stay with us. We still have a lot more action in the cocoa sector as far as the European Union is concerned, and more still to come on the AM show. We'll be right back.